Ananta Koti Vaishnavadindaki Gaura Premanandi. Does that rocking chair need to be there? If it can move, that would be nice. A little warmer this afternoon than this morning. But we're yogis, right? Or something like that. So say yes to Nama Prabhu, yearning enthusiasm. What's the other one? That's too far away. Let's try to get the enthusiasm going together with the yearning and Kabe Habe Bolo Se Di Nama, or maybe someday we'll get there. Spontaneous. Not maybe, we'll definitely get there. Just stay on board. The Krishna Loka Express. So I wanted to do a few things in this afternoon session. One of them is speak less and allow more time for questions. And then another thing I want to do is connect the morning topic with Caitanya Mahaprabhu and, the spontaneous position, but coming to the matrix, reality or illusion. So the story of Gopinath Patanayak going from the illusion to the reality is our topic. And specifically the effect of his brother. Some of us have brothers and sisters, or brothers or sisters. And the effect of one of us, family members, we have parents for sure, how they're benefited by our going to the reality side, away from the illusion side, however gradual it may be. There's exponential benefits that go in all directions. So that the main topic is going to come from Antya-lila chapter 9, which is the story of Gopinath Patanayak and Vadinath, his brother, Vadinath Rai, and Ramananda Rai, and their father Bhavananda Rai. So they're introduced in Chaitanya Charitamrita in Madhya Lila when Ramananda Roy comes to Puri upon the request and invitation of Caitanya Mahaprabhu to end his assignment as a governor and come and be with him in Puri. So when he comes with his father and 4 brothers. Those of you that have been to Puri, you know where they lived. They lived some distance, very near to Alalanath temple. Is the place, and there's this big sword. Maybe you recall seeing it. It was Ramananda Roy's sword. So he was a Kshatriya. But he was more than a Kshatriya. He was a great exalted devotee. He and Swarup Damodar, principal associates of Caitanya Mahaprabhu in their most intimate exchanges. And the king Prataparudra had very close relationship with the whole family. We hear later Caitanya Mahaprabhu saying that the Bhavananda Roy is King Prataparudra, is Maharaj Pandu. And Pandu had 5 sons, right? One of those sons was Arjuna, and Arjuna is Ramananda Roy. We're having a nice time with our technology this afternoon. A little challenging. Welcome, everybody. So rather than going through the entire chapter, I'll do a little summary of chapter 9 from Antya-lila. The family name is Raya or Roy, and Gopinath was given a title. Patanaik means a tax collector on behalf of the king. So the king assigned a certain geographical portion, territory, for him to receive taxes, give taxes to the king, keep some portion, and he was keeping more than his fair share. He was embezzling money from the government. And the Bada Jana means the eldest son who will become the king. You know, the language in Ramayana is Prince Regent. But the incumbent king, son, the son of the king, Badajana, he discovered this and he brought it to his father's attention, King Prataparudra, and said, well, find some means, get the money. It's in Caitanya Charitamrita, he said, even the son said, what about Changa? Do whatever you need to do. He didn't say kill him, he just said, get the money, whatever you need to do. So that came after the prince went to Gopinath and said, hey, you haven't given the money you're supposed to be giving. Well, I don't have it right now. I'll give you some horses and give me a fair price and I'll pay the rest later. Some people, expert in pricing horses, went and evaluated the value of the horses. They gave a low price purposely, kind of sneaky. Government people sometimes do that. Not just government people, people sometimes do that. So Gopinath, being proud of his relationship with the king, Prataparudra, and his whole family, insulted Badajana by saying, why don't you give me a fair price? The horses don't stretch their neck, look into the sky, so give me a fair price. Because he had this idiosyncrasy, he would do like that. He insulted him. Then he went to his father and said, he won't give the money. So do what you have to do. So he put him on the Changa. Changa means wooden platform, upraised swords. They move the wooden platform and the person is killed, falling on the swords. So details are very beautifully written, but time doesn't permit I could read it, but 4 people came to Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Oh, Gopinath and the Changa, do something. He's very, he and his family are very dear to you. Lord Chaitanya said, why is he on the Changa? Because he didn't, they're saying he didn't give his money to the king. King has he's the representative of God. He has a right to do. And if he feels he needs to be punished, then he has the right to punish him. He can't take the money from the government. And then news came that Vaninath Vasu and his whole family, that's one of the 5 brothers. Oh yeah, yes, back in Madhya Lila, of the 5 brothers, Ramananda Roy was assigned to just be the intimate associate of Caitanya Mahaprabhu, and Vaninath was just a servant, although he's a householder. He was given the just be the whatever Lord Chaitanya wants, do it, servant. He was really happy. So those 2 brothers had very special service, and Gopinath had service for the king. Doesn't say about the other 2 brothers, nor Bhavananda Roy, but those 3 had some special thing. So Vaninath was arrested, and his whole family was arrested. And it comes up later, and it's very significant how this plays into the whole narration and our festival of the Holy Name. So different people came. Lord Chaitanya, those of you that have been to Puri, you know where Lord Chaitanya's residence is. It's Gambhira. And Gambhira is a secluded place in what's called the House of Kashi Mishra. Now, it's not just a house. It's a, it's a palace. It's a big spread and lots of buildings. And there's the temple where Kashi Mishra worshipped, because he was really good at deity worship, very absorbed in deity worship. There's a long story about his deities, so on. And so Kashi Mishra came to see Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya said, already several people have come. I'm a sannyasi. I don't have anything to do with people's worldly affairs. And they keep coming to me and harassing me, and I'm going to leave. I'm going to Alalanath and be peaceful. He didn't go, don't worry. So here's what Kashi Mishra said. Lord Chaitanya said, if we hear about the activities of materialistic persons, our minds become agitated. There's no need for me to stay here and be disturbed in that way. I'm going to Alalanath. Kashi Mishra caught hold of the Lord's lotus feet and said, why should you be agitated by these affairs? You are a renowned sannyasi. What connections do you have? One who worships you for some material purpose is blind to all knowledge. Remember this morning, humility is the foundation for knowledge. Persons who want something material from the Lord, they're bereft and blind of all knowledge. If one engages in devotional service for your satisfaction, this will result in his increasingly awakening his dormant love for you. But if one engages in your devotional service for material purposes, he should be considered a number 1 fool. It is only for your sake that Ramananda Roy resigned from the governorship of South India, and Sanatan Goswami gave up his post as minister. It is for your sake that Raghunath Das gave up all his family relationships. His father sent money and men here to serve him. However, because he has received the money of the mercy of your lotus feet, he does not even accept his father's money. Instead, he eats by begging alms from the centers for the distribution of food. Gopinath Patanayak is a good gentleman. He's very diplomatic. He does not desire material benefits from you. It is not Gopinath who sent all those men so that you would release him from his plight. Rather, his friends and servants seeing his distressed condition, informed you, because they all know that Gopinath is a soul surrendered unto you. Gopinath Patanayaka is a pure devotee who worships you only for your satisfaction. He does not care about his personal happiness or distress, for that is the business of a materialist. One who engages in your devotional service 24 hours a day, desiring only your mercy, will very soon attain shelter at your lotus feet. And then he quotes Tate Nukampam verse. Kindly stay here at Jagannath Puri. Why should you go to Alalanath? Henceforward, no one will approach you about material affairs. Finally, Kashi Mishra told the Lord, if you want to give protection to Gopinath, then Lord Jagannath, who protected him today, will also protect him in the future. Protect him today. What happened was, somebody went and informed the king, hey, Gopinath's on the chunk. And he said, what? Release him. If you kill him, how are we going to get the money? I wanted the money, not as you kill him. So release him. So a deal was established, which is what should have happened long ago. They took the horses, gave a fair price. There's a balance due. It was settled when he would pay the balance, and he was released. So when that news came to Lord Caitanya, he asked, what was Vaninath doing while this was going on? He's in jail with his whole family. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu inquired from the messenger, what was Vaninath doing when he was arrested? Messenger replied, he was fearlessly, incessantly chanting the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. He counted the chants on the fingers of both hands. Didn't have counter beats. And after he had finished chanting 1,000 times, he would make a mark on his body. Hearing this news, the Lord was very pleased. Who can understand the mercy of the Lord upon his devotee? And at the very end of this whole section, the intentions of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu are so deep that one can understand them only if he has complete faith in the service of the lotus feet of the Lord. So there's many lessons, of course, but when Gopinath was released, then the king called him, and the king said, you can have your tax collecting territory back, and if you feel you're not getting enough money, I'll double the amount that you get, double your salary. There's a very merciful boss. And here's a silk wrapper. You know, they do that in India to honor him. And Gopinath was, in the vernacular, blown away. So he went to his dad and said, Dad, look at this, look at that, look at the other thing. So they all went to see, including Vaninath, they all went to see Lord Caitanya. And Gopinath Patanayak said, after sharing all the the rewards that he got from the king, my Lord, these are not the principal results of meditating upon your lotus feet. Material opulence is very flickering. Therefore, it is simply a glimpse of the result of your mercy, Pala Abbas. Your real mercy has been granted to Ramananda Roy and Vaninath Roy. For you have detached them from all material opulence. I think that I have not been favored by such mercy. Kindly bestow upon me your pure mercy, so that I may also become renounced. I'm no longer interested in material enjoyment. Ha ha ha. Not so easy. Caitanya Mahaprabhu said, if you adopt the renounced order and lose interest in dealing with pounds, shillings, and pence, who will take charge of maintaining your large family? Whether you are involved in material activities or becoming completely renounced, you 5 brothers are all my eternal servants, birth after birth. However, just obey one order from me. Do not spend any of the king's revenue. First, you should pay the revenue due the king, and then you may spend the balance for religious and fruitive activities. Don't spend a farthing for sinful activities, for which you will be the loser both in this life and the next. So that's the reality pill. Taking away the illusion, and with the illusion goes pride and so many other undesirable qualities. Specifically in relation to this reading of the 10th canto Leela, I was thinking specifically that this is a more contemporary pastime than Krishna in Vrindavan with the cowherd boys and the gopis and things. This is one of his associates meeting a life-challenging situation. Another, Vaninath, life-challenging situation, or at least put in jail, and he just took complete shelter of the holy name. Now, perhaps his chanting of the holy name intensified from what it would have been the day before. Maybe not, because he's a pure devotee. His attraction for worldly affairs was already gone. He had but one shelter, and that's the reality pill, or that's the moving to the position of spontaneous devotional service, where regardless of the situation, one is taking full shelter in the personality of Godhead. That's the sign of spontaneous service. Now, I wanted to tell, just because there's a lot of philosophy coming up, a couple of very nice explanations. This Bhattacharya has a name, that's his title. His name is Purushottam Jana. And it's not said anywhere, but my guess is he's that son of Maharaj Prataparudra that was sent. Lord Chaitanya invited his son to come instead of the king, and he gave his mercy to his son. Now, his son did something that was not nice, but he was insulted. But he was insulted because he did something that was not nice. He gave a low price, and for whatever the reason he did that. Later, this Purushottam Jana, this described in Bhakti Ratnakar, that when the Goswamis in Vrindavan, so King Prataparudra was the king for practically the full duration of Caitanya Mahaprabhu's life. And shortly after, Purushottam Jana became the next king. And Purushottam Jana had a relationship with Janava. And when the Gopinath, when the Govindaji deity and the Madan Mohan deity were without Radha, Purushottam Jana arranged a deity of Radha for both of them, for each of them. You know the story? The very night before the installation of Radharani for both Radhas, the Pujari of Madan Mohan had a dream in which Radha appeared and said, wait a minute, this is Lalita and I'm Radha, and so we should be installed over here at Madan Mohan. So Govindaji didn't have a Radharani by his side. And when that news came back to Purushottam Jana, he was very surprised. That night, according to Bhakti Ratnakar, he had a dream. Lord Jagannath appeared and said, Radharani appeared and said, the reason that happened the way that it happened, she didn't say it quite like that, is I am Radha in the Jagannath temple during the reign of your father, your grandfather, Purushottam. Next was Prataparudra, then Purushottam Jana. During the reign of your father, I was being worshipped in part of his kingdom, south of Puri, in a place called Radhapur. And actually I'm Radharani, and he was a great devotee of Radharani, and he worshipped me very nicely. But when the Pujari, the priest, left this world, he didn't have any son, and so the king made an arrangement for the deity to come here to Puri and was worshipped in the Jagannath temple, and everyone thought, I'm Lakshmi, but I'm not Lakshmi. I'm Radha. Please take me. Please arrange for me to be by the side of Gopinath. Excuse me, Govindaji. So he woke up like, wow. And made a big, festive, kingly arrangement for conveying Radharani to Vrindavan. And Radharani was installed by the side of Govindaji. To this very day, Purushottam Jana, the same one that was messing with Gopinath, is the one that made that arrangement by the mercy of Srimati Radharani, which came about as a result of the mercy of Caitanya Mahaprabhu. And the mercy of Caitanya Mahaprabhu was also received by King Prataparudra because of his humble service. Humility is the foundation for knowledge. King Prataparudra had this very strong desire to receive the mercy of Caitanya Mahaprabhu in obstacle after obstacle. Even a great devotee had obstacle. And we're not great devotees. So we're in good company, having obstacles. But he was very determined. And he passed all the obstacles and got Caitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. And one of the main functions, humility is manifest in the form of service. And one of the main services that was a demonstration of his humility was sweeping before Lord Jagannath. But sweeping can be done, you know how people do it, Rath Yatra sometimes. It's not so devotional, it's something else. But it was very devotional. So here's another story about King Prataparudra receiving Jagannath's mercy and thus receiving Lord Chaitanya's mercy. Again, this is in his biography. There's different versions of this, but the one I was reading today. The king, Prataparudra's father, Purushottam, wanted to arrange a marriage for his son. There was a king of Kashi, so he sent a messenger to the king of Kashi. I understand you have a daughter. would you be willing to accept handing over your daughter to my son? So he came on the occasion of Rath Yatra to meet his potential son-in-law, and he became very disturbed when he saw Purushottam, when he saw Prataparudra sweeping before Lord Jagannath. Now, that's devotional, and for Vaishnavas, that's devotional. But this king didn't like it. He was a worshiper of Ganesh, and he didn't have devotion for Jagannath. So he saw it as insulting. So he called off the marriage when he went home. So his father was, what? Because he's worshiping Lord Jagannath? So he brought his army. The detail isn't given in the rendering that I just read, but he failed. He came back and fell before Lord Jagannath. How did this happen? I was going to uphold your honor. And one of the priests asked him, before you went off in a big huff, did you go offer prayers to Lord Jagannath? Ooh. False ego. Our dear friend, even in service to Lord Jagannath, beware. Even in service to Kishore Kishori or whoever you want to serve, Prabhupada, or beware. So he prayed and prayed, and there's some nice detail. Heading in the southerly direction towards Kashi, when King Purushottam passed through a certain village where they stopped to get some wares for their army party, a merchant lady approached the king, showed him a ring, and said, 2 men came before you, and they prepaid some items to give to you, and they said, just present this ring to you, the king, and you'll give me the money to take care of the wares. And he recognized the ring. It was a ring he had personally given to Jagannath. So he did the math real fast. What did they look like? These 2 people on horseback, white and black, dressed very nicely. So he went and he was victorious. Now, a detail in this narration is not only he defeated the king and his whole army, but the Ganesh deity that the king had worshipped as his Ishtadev was taken back to Puri and placed in the Jagannath temple. This text that I read today by a good authority, a reliable authority. And they gave the deity of Ganesh a specific name. The specific adjective means deceitful. I forget the Sanskrit word. Deceitful Ganesh, because he's supposed to protect and remove obstacles when you're serving the Lord. But he made an obstacle instead of remove the obstacle. And they brought back, the king, Purushottam, also brought back a royal throne, which was then given to Jagannath in his treasury, or wherever they keep special things. Later, the king of Kashi came voluntarily to entrust his daughter to the hand of Prataparudra. And he came on the occasion of Rath Yatra and watched Prataparudra sweep the street before Lord Jagannath. So he got mercy. So mercy of the Lord, especially Lord Jagannath, he's very clever, can give mercy in ways that's not easy to understand how he does what he does. Now back to the Festival of the Holy Name, and how we're going to move along this path of yearning, enthusiasm, and spontaneity. There's a very essential teaching that can help us have faith in the holy name. And as we heard this morning, enthusiasm is the life of faith, or without enthusiasm, faith is meaningless. I have faith and I do nothing. Or I do something half-heartedly. Real faith, the life of real faith, is enthusiasm. So understanding Caitanya Mahaprabhu came to this world to give a gift, the holy name. And with that gift of the holy name, everything. Nijasarva Shaktis. All of the potencies of the holy name of Krishna are within each and every one of the holy names. We're pretty dull because we're not experiencing that. But it doesn't mean it's an offense. So I'm going to make reference now to some teachings of Bhaktivinoda Thakur that are found in a book, Vaishnava Siddhantamala. And one section of Vaishnava Siddhantamala is the Siddhanta about the holy name. And the text is called Sri Harinam. And the largest, as we know, Bhaktivinoda Thakur often retold writings from scripture or writing from our Acharya in a contemporary form. He just retold it. So this, what I'm going to be reading is primarily from Jiva Goswami's Bhagavat Sandarbha, text 43. And that's been very kindly translated into English by Bhanu Swami. And there's some others that want to do go through it again and refine this translation very carefully. But what you're hearing is Bhaktivinoda Thakur's writing from that text. Vaishnava Siddhantamala, the chapter 9 entitled Sri Harinam. There's a section where he describes, in reference to Shikshastaka, we're going to hear Rabindra speak tomorrow about Shikshastaka, right? Please hear that class. Don't miss it. He has been absorbed in it very, very, very deeply. So I'm just touching on the topic. So Shikshastaka 2 speaks of all the potencies of the holy name of Krishna are invested in each and every holy name. So he writes, the possessor of potencies, being the enjoyer, all his manifestations are made accessible through the agency of his potencies. That's the doorway, or like Hare Krishna. We address Radha first. The potency reveals the enjoyer who is her shelter to others. His form is revealed by vision. His name is revealed by sound, both by calling and by hearing, Shravanam Kirtanam. That's our primary Bhagavad Dharma process, is hearing and chanting. And it's Bhakti Siddhanta has explained the name is the person, Shaktiman, and then the Shakti is the scripture that explains the name. But even the name, and within the Mahamantra, there's the possessor of the potencies, and then the potency reveals the fact that the name and the person are non-different, or the name and the person are within the name. The name and the person named are within the name. The form of Krishna is within the name. It's not like by chanting something outside of the sound of the holy name will reveal the form of Krishna. It's within the name. So this is our teaching. And it's a nice teaching. And then I'm far from understanding the teaching. I'm far from realizing from theory to experience. So sadhana bhakti is to carry us from theory to realization, to practical experience. And it takes some enthusiasm. So enthusiasm is kindled, we heard this morning, by sadhu sangha. And what do sadhus do? They engage in katayantas chamam nityam tushanti cha ramanti cha. That's what sadhus do. They come together and, like we're doing, discussing topics of Lord Chaitanya and Vaninath Rai's complete absorption. Because of I meant to say this, very important. Because of Vaninath Rai's absorption in the holy name, the benefit went to Gopinath, his brother, Patanayak. Because Gopinath was a mixed person, although Kashi Mishra was saying he doesn't have material. He had material. He was embezzling money and using it for sense gratification, not for building a temple or worshipping his deity, but for sense gratification. And he has no right to take money from the king anyway. So because of Vaninath Rai's absorption in the holy name, his implicit faith, he was not disturbed, and Lord Chaitanya gave his mercy to Gopinath. It's not the only reason, but it's a very important part of the Leela. So if we can become a little progressive on the path of chanting of the holy name, just doing that spreads benefit to others, certainly to immediate family members and beyond, depending upon the absorption and how strong is our Krishna consciousness, etc. It's the best thing we can do for the madness that's going on in the world today, not just the pandemic, but all the other madness. Too much. What can we do? We want to have some practical activity of extending that sound vibration to others for sure. But extend in a quality way means you have to receive it and involve your life, immerse your life in it properly. So that gives enthusiasm to be in a service mood to the name, and thus in turn to other things that are spiritual, like spirit souls that are entangled in material complexity. So back to this Sri Harinam, this section from Vaishnava Siddhantamala. Bhaktivinoda Thakur teaches, which comes from Bhagavad Sandarbha, this well-known verse from Padma Purana that speaks that the name Nama and Nami are the same. So the Nami is revealed through Nama. And it's the potency of Nama that reveals Nami, the person. Our relationship with Krishna is personal. And it's, so, Jiva Goswami explains there are these four things that the verse says. You know the verse. Namachintamani Krishnas. Sanatana Goswami explains the touchstone, Chintamani, is meant to indicate that the chanter of the name can receive anything. Like a Kalpavrikshachi, like a Chintamani gem. Like Gopakumar in Brihat Bhagavatamrita was told at one point by his Diksha Guru that the chanting will fulfill all desires. All desirable things can be achieved. That's Chintamani. But he, Gopakumar, wanted not just desirable things of the material, he wanted the reality. He didn't want the illusion. And he was very clear that reality is not on the material side, although he went through many allurements. We're going to hear some more about the allurements tomorrow as he went to different places. And it's pretty alluring what he experienced. But it wasn't Madan Gopal. And he finally made it because he was fixed on achieving that which his spiritual master wanted of him. That's what kept him going. We'll hear more about that tomorrow. But these four things, Nitya Mukta, Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains the meaning of this eternally liberated phrase, is the holy name has never, ever been generated from matter. It's eternally spiritual, ever liberated from matter. Then there's this whole discussion, a digression, that Bhaktivinoda Thakur goes into, because that's what Jiva Goswami goes into, and that is how the chapter 87 of Canto 10, Prayers by the Personified Vedas. How can the tongue, which is material, and the ears, which are material, connect one to that which is spiritual? And the answer is, everything has its origin in Krishna, and therefore has its spiritual quality. So if used in service to Krishna, the spiritual quality is restored. That's the short, but it's really, really, really involved discussion. So when we're hearing the holy name, it's Namabhas. I have no question about it. Hopefully it's not Namaparad, but it's Namabhas. It's not the pure holy name. But the pure holy name is very powerful, and it can carry one to the position of liberation. It's how the tongue and the ear should be used. But the liberated is neutral, and it's not the pure holy name. It's not chanting with the spiritual tongue and hearing with the spiritual ear, so to speak. But the sound, not just the organ of the ear, but the sense of hearing needs to be purified. Just as enthusiasm we discussed this morning needs to be purified, and the means of purification is in contact with that which is Nitya Mukta, not material. Then that's our means of purification. And the faith that we have in that, driven by the enthusiasm that drives our faith, is going to result more or less proportionately to the purification of our faculties, our senses, not just the sense of hearing, but all the other senses, and the tongue, and all the other senses, and the mind. Yoga practice requires controlling the mind and senses, and that the best means is this one, in this particular age, the holy name, Nitya Mukta. Then Purna, Purna is this indication that the name and the person are the same. There isn't anything missing in Krishna. There isn't anything missing in Krishna's name. It's complete. It's a very tight package. Everything is there. Everything is there. We expand what's the name in the form of scriptures and mantras and slokas and, Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, but everything is there within the name. Purna. And Shuddha, these four adjectives, so far that's three. Shuddha is pure. So he refers to Narottam Das Thakur's Golokera Premadana Harinama Sankirtana. It's not of this realm, it's Shuddha Sattva, transcendental purity. We're not transcendentally pure. We're in the modes and covered and illusioned. But by contacting that which is completely pure, that's the means, that's a quality possessed by the name that can carry us beyond the illusion into the reality realm, into understanding who Krishna really is, through the medium of service to the name. And Caitanya Rasa Vigraha, Bhaktivinoda Thakur expresses from Jiva Goswami's writings in Bhagavad Sandarbha what Rupa Goswami writes in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu about what's the meaning of rasa. It's a nice definition. That which is beyond material imagination, heavy with wonder, and relished in the heart, shining with transcendental goodness beyond the three modes of material nature, is known as rasa. I'll say it again, it's a nice definition. That which is beyond material imagination, the mind can't go there, heavy with wonder, splendor, and relished in the heart, shining with transcendental goodness beyond the three modes of material nature, is known as rasa. So the name is Caitanya Rasa Vigraha, a form of Caitanya Rasa. Chaitanya we know from Caitanya Charitamrita, the living force. It's a form that has that power within it. It's one of the qualities of and characteristics of, traits of the name. We're dull, but that's what the name is. And we're contacting that as we chant. In the mature stage, the explanation is given. Only at the mature stage is rasa fully experienced, and proportionate to our taking up the bhakti process, sadhana bhakti process, like we read this morning from that verse from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, with the recognition that it will carry us to the bhava stage. Proportionate to our taking up sadhana in that way, we'll reach this stage of rasa. We'll experience this quality of the holy name, Caitanya Rasa Vigraha. Jiva Goswami, in his Bhagavad Sandarbha, this is the concluding message, Anuched 34, if you want to look it up later. The cause of the Supreme Lord's appearance, this is now quoting Jiva Goswami. The cause of the Supreme Lord's appearance is mentioned in the Narayana Adhyatma. Quote, even though the Supreme Personality of Godhead is eternally unmanifest, he is seen by his own potency. Without the potency of the Lord, who can see the immortal Lord, the Supersoul? So then there's the seeing, and then there's the hearing, because potency reveals both his form, spiritual form, and his spiritual form in the presentation of sound. It's the potency of Shaktiman that reveals. And otherwise it's not possible. So when we're chanting the name, the enthusiasm to connect with the person who is non-different than the name, within the name and the form being non-different, to connect with that, it's the mercy of the potency of the Supreme Lord, and all of those potencies are there. And the conclusion is In Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's Madhurya Kandambani, chapter 8, he describes the conditions where all these things become experienced and sequence for one who has reached the stage of prema. And it's not like wishful thinking or an exaggeration. All of that is offense. So we don't want to participate in offense, that the glories of the holy name are exaggeration. In this Sri Harinam chapter 9, hit long section on this example, that example, the other example of worldly people that make offense, thinking along this line that this is exaggeration, etc. Are we ready for the portable microphone? Okay. So, I thought I would speak less, and it's already 1 hour. But through Caitanya Mahaprabhu, the giver of the holy name, the one who bestowed the holy name in this world, he wants us to have that sense of protection, as Vaninath Roy experienced. He wants us to have that, and we will feel protected even in the greatest of calamity, like it says in Bhagavad Gita. True yogi is, once that shelter is there, even in the midst of the greatest calamity, they remain fixed, not like no problem being in jail, but fixed in Krishna's protection. And sure enough, Krishna's protection came. Just like the residents of Vrindavan, when danger came, life-threatening danger came. It's just par for the course. They kept going on with their loving service. So we're not quite there yet, but the principle is something we can understand, to take shelter where there's real shelter. With enthusiasm, because everything is there, protection is there, all potency is there, safety is there, well-being is there, the goal of life is there. And we all know it, and we're not there yet. And we know that one too. So discussing these topics is meant to help us focus and have some impetus when we have on Sunday morning. I don't know what it's going to be like when we can't get together as we normally do for a festival of the Holy Name, but focus on our chanting of extra rounds, 32 to 64 to 108 or whatever you want to do. So let's see if there's some discussion.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Keep speaking so they can adjust the volume.
I was appreciating that although Gopinath Patanayak did not necessarily, it appears like he did not necessarily please directly Lord Chaitanya, but his mercy was still there through his brother. I was trying to see how I can apply, or at least be on the lookout for receiving the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, especially in the practice of chanting the holy name.
Good.
One of the questions I was contemplating was, through that pastime that you narrated, it seems like the lesson is that we should not be casual in our worldly affairs.
Yeah.
And I think I heard from you before that if we take chanting casually also, then it will go into the worldly affair, our other it will creep into the other activities of life. So
yes,
could you give some pointers on how to not take this chanting of the holy name casually.
You're doing a pretty good job. You probably have some life experiences on both sides. Consciousness is of the soul, and then there's contaminated consciousness. That's a covering of the soul. And contaminated consciousness is strongly influenced by the false ego, the mind, and the material senses. So we see and desire and experience and even establish our value system according to contaminated consciousness instead of the original consciousness of the soul. And unfortunately, that's just the way it is. And so take the chanting, which is meant to deliver us, even that which is meant to deliver us, we don't have a full spiritual conception. We see it in a material way to some degree or another. And so we don't get the full benefit. If we're casual or complacent, instead of enthusiastic, this is Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Can I send you a document and you send to all registered? So Bhaktivinoda Thakur's teaching on enthusiasm, you'll receive it shortly when I get to send it, and she'll forward it. The first thing he deals with is the opposite of enthusiasm or complacency into different categories. And so we're victims of that, or conditioned by not having the right conception of reality and having another one, and therefore having some other idea of enthusiasm instead of enthusiasm, complacency, etc. Material enthusiasm or complacency or whatever. So it's a refinement process. And if we don't make effort, refinement is retarded. If we make effort, we need effort with proper guidance. Therefore, sadhu sangha and regular, again and again and again, hearing and applying. It's a refinement process, gradual, according to our nature and according to our time management capabilities and our priorities and all those things, our lifestyle. But that's our mission. And it's good to come together as we've been doing for a festival of the Holy Name and regularly huddle together and try to focus on going further and going deeper together and, reinforcing one another. As you're already doing with other things in your other forms of your service, reading groups and chanting japa together and things, even in our present circumstance. So those are efforts in association with others making effort that strengthens. And just how can I keep going and how can I improve, strengthen, fortify, streamline? And it's not a once a week effort or weekend effort, it's an everyday effort. And then progress. How's that?
Guru Maharaj, I would believe we're doing one question.
Yeah,
one question
thanks for
online.
reminder. Online question, thanks.
This is from Neeraj Bhatnagar. If Lord Chaitanya was apparently disturbed by worldly affairs in regards to Gopinath Patanaik, what chance do I have to progress when trying to develop bhakti internally and trying to stay normal outside, inevitably listening to Gramya Katha?
Well, restructure your time utilization, time management, as I mentioned. Spend less time over there and more time over in this other department. It's not whether you can go to Lord Chaitanya and complain about your worldly problems or not. It's how do you utilize your time with hearing and chanting, and what are you going to hear, what are you going to chant. And if you move in that direction just described, you'll have less of that sound, Gramya Katha sound coming into your ear, because you're just not fun. You're not going to respond to it. You're not going to get absorbed in it, and all that thing. The people that like to do it, they want to do it with people that like to do it. Birds of a feather. If you're just like, I'm not doing that, you're not fun anymore. They'll stop bugging you.
Guru Maharaj, I have a couple of questions. The first one, the section you were reading about Lord Chaitanya's conversation with Gopinath after the incident. He said to Gopinath, give to the king and then spend for religious and fruitive activities. I found that contradictory to what Lord Chaitanya normally...
Karma yoga. Because he's acknowledging you're not a Shuddha Bhakta. You like fruitive activities, so you do karma yoga. And he's saying, but that's not your full mercy. Please take away this karma tendency, fruitive activities tendency. So religious fruitive activities, karma yoga, proper execution of worldly duties. Okay?
And I've been thinking of this theme of yearning, enthusiasm, and spontaneity. Is it correct to understand it in terms that I'm more familiar with? Effort and mercy are the two things that we require in devotional service. So the yearning and the enthusiasm are our effort, and the spontaneity descends in the form of mercy.
Well, it's a combination. It's the mature stage that's the combination of all those good things. That's the spontaneity. Okay? Stage of maturity. Bhava Bhakti, Prema Bhakti. It's the mature stage.
This question is from Rajeshwari Pran Mataji. She also has two questions. Krishna and Krishna's name are non-different. Also, there are pastimes describing the holy name is more powerful than Krishna himself. How to understand this?
Not more powerful, more merciful.
The next line says, is it Nam Prabhu is more merciful than Krishna, though Krishna and his name are not different?
Yes. They have the capacity of mercy, but the name displays more than the form of Krishna displays. The name of Krishna displays, they're equally merciful, but the name displays more mercy. We can easily approach the name anywhere.
Though bhakti is purifying, we should be able to let go of impurities in order for bhakti process to work.
Yeah.
What if we're holding on to some impurity but continue to do bhakti? Will we get strength to give up the impurity? And then how to get that strength to let go of impure tendency?
Well, if you want it, you can get it. The potential is there. But if you don't want it, Krishna isn't going to force it on you. So if you want it, you can get it. You know that you have to pay the price to get it. And the price is faith. That's our teaching. The price is faith. So you can get it, pay the price. Okay? Anyone else in the room? We're doing this alternating program. Yeah, Jimana Jivana.
Raj, I was thinking about this exchange with Kashi Mishra and Lord Chaitanya, where, my thoughts were going back to Puri Yatra, and something that really stuck with me is how Kashi Mishra was, or Lord Chaitanya's statement to Kashi Mishra was, I will stay with you and give you mercy because of your non-duplicitous nature. And when he's speaking about Gopinath Patanaik, he has such a vision that he sees Gopinath Patanaik as a pure devotee. Yet we're hearing that he does have material tendencies. So how to understand the vision of such a person like Kashi Mishra?
That's how he saw him, as you said. That's how he saw him. And Lord Chaitanya saw him in a different way. He still has material tendency. Otherwise, why would he be taking money that belongs to the king? However he was using it. That's unlawful. And Lord Chaitanya didn't stand for unlawful activity. And that was one of the lessons. It was one of the lessons to all the devotees, even today. Abide by the law. Don't break the law. You don't have to like the law, but you're a citizen, you obey the law. Don't break the law. Look at what we're doing, except for the three boys over here. We're social distancing and it's meant for our protection, but aside for what it's meant for, we abide by the law. That's a lesson that Lord Chaitanya gave. I mean, it's not new to Lord Chaitanya. It's in Christianity. Render to Caesar what is Caesar. Render to God what is God's. It's you abide by the law of the land. In consonance, the higher principle is the law of God. But part of the law of God is abide by the law of the land. So, your question is, how do we understand this? Are you asking, was Kashi Mishra being duplicitous?
I have no doubt he was not duplicitous.
Okay, that's how he was seeing him.
And yeah, he's just really up there.
That's how he was seeing him.
Yeah.
No, there wasn't any argument from Lord Chaitanya said, how can you say that when he was taking money from the king? Because in the other conversations, that was his argument. He's to be punished. The king has every right to give the money to the king. He's taken money from the king. Then he's instructing him, don't do this again. Don't take money from the king. So he became purified. Not just, he got double salary and a silk wrapper, but he got purified. Such that y'all never engage in these material activities again. Okay. Now, online.
This is from Ananta Shesha Prabhu. When I receive reaction of my karma in the form of difficulty or negative emotion, by default, I do not want that. And it has become easier to, quote, tolerate and take shelter of Krishna. When a reaction to my past karma comes in the form of a material attraction, my default response is, yummy. Even before I recognize that I've said it And from that point on, it becomes progressively difficult to turn away from the attraction. And it is very difficult to turn away from that attraction to the holy name. Could you please give me direction that will help me say, not yummy, when a materially attractive reaction comes?
Well, instructions need to be customized per person. There's principle-based. Let's say a verse from Bhagavad Gita. Although it may look yummy, bhoga, it's a source of dukkha. Ehi samsparshaya bhoga dukkha yonaya evate. And time and again, it happens, and so scripture's right, and you have the realization. So when you repeat something that you just, by habit, skip over, you forget Krishna and Krishna's instruction, and you go for the material attraction side, what's the brake pedal if it's not scripture? There's a couple of things. There's three things. There's the chapter where Krishna says, if you can't do that, do this. If you can't do that, do the other thing. You can't do the other thing, then do another thing. You can look at that ladder. Another option is regulate. Put your foot down, because partly regulation means restriction. You can voluntarily self-impose some restriction and gradually wean yourself away from that sense attraction phenomena. But you have to stay with it. You can't be sometimes and sometimes not, intermittent. Another is we don't like to suffer. And when you find suffering comes again and again, then that's learning the hard way. A little light goes on, says, it looked like enjoyment, but it was suffering. And it happens again and again. So I think I need to delete that software and put another software in its place. And then there's another that maybe is most appropriate, and that is Krishna's teaching to Uddhava, that a devotee that understands what he just described, they go on recognizing, I'm going to get a reaction, but let me stay faithful to the bhakti process, because gradually I'll become purified. So it's not like caving in, it's acknowledging there's weakness. We would call it spiritual weakness or sensual weakness or just weakness. And so I'm yielding to that which I know is bringing and will continue to bring suffering. But let me just acknowledge that and stay faithful to the bhakti process for when will that day come that I'll no longer have. I'll become purified sufficiently that will stop. Then, here's another one. If you don't take care of it in this lifetime, guess what? It's going to carry over into your next lifetime, and your next lifetime, and your next lifetime, and that's not fun. So you have a good opportunity, given the method, because you don't know what's going to happen in your next lifetime, the opportunities that you have, and how dark it's going to get in Kali Yuga, in some number of years, whenever that comes around again. It doesn't seem to be getting better. It seems to be getting darker, at least the world around us. So that's an impetus to get it together. Don't take birth again. Okay, something on, that was an online. Anyone in the room? Comment, question? Okay, anything else online or we're done?
It's just now coming. Okay. Same person? Ravi? Ravi. Sometimes it appears that law of the land is not a subset of laws of God, like tax money utilization, work life, etc. By following the laws of the land, are practicing devotees karmically implicated? If so, how to follow the law of the land with least damage?
Live in the mountains? Move to a farm? Become a sannyasi? At least you don't have to worry about taxes. I'm just being responsive to the question. And in case somebody's serious about the least damage option, Devamrita Maharaj forwarded to me something that I think Petrarca already did, which is the government is now a little more animated and active in providing funds for people that will want to buy a farm and do real agriculture on a farm at a super minimal interest rate to buy a farm and live that way. You have to have a business plan and stuff like that. So he shared with me that there's a devotee part of the Gitanagari project that's making one such application that will be in his name. Then once if the loan is approved, then he'll tie it to the Gitanagari farm so that they'll eventually have another farm. But it's just growing hay that the Gitanagari farm needs anyways. That's the business plan. Grow hay on the farm. And then they operate the hay farm and sell it to Gitanagari because they're going to buy it from somebody else anyways. So in case you want to make the least harm, that's practical. But the difficulty part of this communication with Maharaj was in his conversations with the Agriculture and Cow Protection Ministry. There are not too many people that want to live that lifestyle. But that's the least damaging, involving lifestyle. There's probably some unpleasantries or some other compromises involved in all of that too. They probably have to pay taxes for farms. Okay, we're done? There's another one.
Yeah, I have a few questions here, Maharaj. This is from Paramatma Prabhu. I heard an analogy sometime in the past that when someone started cleaning the house, the garbage is now more visible than usual. So
I never heard that one before.
So when one starts chanting Nam Prabhu, is progressing from Namapara to Namabas, will his contaminations or narthas be more manifest?
No.
such as one becomes more greedy, angry, lusty.
No. You just be more aware that it's there. Just, stirring, accelerating. That's all. Srila Prabhupada, keep. Yeah.
This more is one.
More?
Yeah.
More. Okay.
This is from Amar Mataji.
Okay.
It's a really short one. In our topic is yearning and enthusiasm for pure service to Krishna.
See it again.
In our topic is yearning and enthusiasm specific to
Yeah.
pure service to Krishna.
Well, that's the object. That's the path to reach the object. I think I've understood her question. Okay, we're done? Yes? Okay. Prabhupada ki? Jai.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Maharaj, for the class and for concluding day one. Just a few quick announcements before we jump off the Zoom call. First is I want to just quickly review the schedule